All right. Welcome everyone to this Q2 results update for Spectre. Today is the 14th of October, 2018, and I am the CEO of Spectre, Kei Kimani. We will have a short results overview, and then we will get straight into the Q&A. Please note that our head of research and development, Otto Sobari, is also on the webinar. He will, later in the webinar, give you a bit of a rundown on the upcoming Spectre exchange, which hasn't been a roadmap item, as you will recall. But because of the state of exchanges in the industry, we have been forced to develop our own. And so he'll be giving you more details as that will be launching shortly. So do stick around for that as well. This webinar, as always, will be recorded. So you can watch this on our YouTube channel and also our website, probably within 24 to 48 hours. Before I proceed, I am required legally to read you this disclaimer, so please do bear with me. This webinar is recorded and will be distributed in social media. It may include forward-looking statements, but these are strictly for educational purposes only and not to be deemed as investment advice. Spectre.ai, as a trading platform, is strictly closed to US citizens. The ownership of SXDT or SXUT tokens by US citizens is forbidden and against the terms and conditions of Spectre.ai. Financial trading is risky and you may lose all of your funds invested. A recording of this webinar will be available on spectre.ai/investors. Okay, so let's go over the figures. If you recall, the guidance for the second quarter, which is September end 2018, was 500 real money registered KYC accounts. The actual number was 366. Together for the first half, which includes the first quarter and the second, there are now around 1,100 active traders on the platform, with the daily active trader count being around 20% of this figure. We don't release that specific figure because it's quite sensitive, but we can give a rough percentage. The liquidity pool has increased to 5,326 ETH. It was 5,200 at the launch of the project and around 5,270 at the end of the first quarter. The volumes traded since launch are 2.3 million. This figure includes wallet accounts, and this is up over 90% since Q1. The decentralization factor, which is basically the number of wallet accounts divided by total accounts. As you will recall, there are two types of real money accounts on Spectre. One is decentralized trading, where you trade directly against the liquidity pool with no intervention. You don't deposit anywhere. And then you have semi-centralized, where you deposit to a secured smart contract and you effectively trade like a regular broker. The decentralization factor is up slightly from 2% to 2.7%. Still very, very, very low, reflecting underlying structural issues in global blockchain adoption, in Ethereum adoption. These are very prevalent. The headwinds have increased substantially. Of course, the good thing for us is we don't depend on that. We have this wallet there as and when decentralization really kicks into steam in the next 3 to 5 years, we will be there and waiting. But for now, the semi-centralized wallet account is the popular choice. And I'll be expanding on that in a bit as well. Some very pleasing news is in the SXUT take-up factor. This is currently coming in at 41% of real wallets using SXUT tokens to upgrade. That's almost double the 20% we saw in the first quarter. And this really validates the significant use case for utility tokens on the financial trading platform. The way we calculate the 41%, it's not just the 1,100 active trader figure and 40% of that, and that means 400 traders. This is actually um, the the daily active traders. Okay, so this is the quote unquote the addicted traders that are literally engaging the platform every day, high frequency traders, and those are also the ones that tend to invest um, in the SXUT tokens. They are a bit more advanced traders. They really value those additional privileges, so they invest. But that's a really good figure, and considering that this is just one application of many that will be connecting to the decentralized autonomous liquidity pool, we're pleased with that. The total amount of SXDT dividends paid was 134 ETH in the last quarter. This is averaging now around 20 to 20 ETH uh, per week, up from around 4 to 5 ETH. Obviously, 4 to 5 ETH in the first quarter. Obviously, some part of that is also because of the drop in ETH prices. So we benefit cosmetically from that. Um, the dividend for this week will be issued at some point in the next few hours. That's also above 20 ETH. So we're kind of hitting new highs as the weeks progress on a net basis, which is good to see. A very interesting statistic is that close to 2,000 ETH, 2,000, 1,900 to be precise, or around $500,000 was paid out in winnings in the last quarter. So that's winning trades that are ready to be withdrawn, right? Free of any hassle, free of any account managers, none of that garbage that you saw in binary options in the last few years. And there has been zero incidents of fraud. What this means is that we have not allowed anyone to withdraw on the semi-centralized accounts, and on the decentralized accounts as always as well. There you get immediately paid because the trade goes into your account when you win. So very pleased that again it's a fraud-free environment. Okay, so in terms of our scaling and trajectory, we currently stand around 1,100 traders. The figure is growing almost on a weekly basis. The first quarter was literally teething. The first month we were only allowing a very small amount of traders into the platform. I think it was 100, if I recall. The second quarter has seen expansion. Obviously, it's not exciting levels yet. We would be downright silly to say that we've done it. We're far from that, but the trajectory is certainly in the right course. And as we've always said in the first quarter as well, and even before, it is more about a Q3 and especially a Q4 story in terms of the total scaling of the platform. Mind you, Q4 is March year end of 2019 because our fiscal year ends in March. It doesn't actually end at the calendar year end of December. Now, there are a few things to note here. We have so far done around 2 and a bit million in volumes, right? 2 to 3 million volumes. In order to hit our balance case scenario, we need to do around 75, 76 million in the next 2 quarters, the next 6 months, roughly speaking. Now, obviously, that is back end loaded towards the end of Q3 and Q4. By then, cassette 2 is out, which means fiat trading, full blown fiat trading. And this is a point I'll touch on in a bit. Also, the new UI is coming out at the end of December. And these are all really important points to help the scaling initiative. Equally, it is important for me to state at this point that during the course of this year, there has been a marked downward trajectory, a trend which is not only continued but precipitated to the downside in the underlying blockchain industry. The demand to trade smart options for us, touch wood, is not linked to what happens in crypto. Crypto can go to zero. There is over 4 million traders around the world. In theory, that's the potential target market that can be using smart options, possibly more. But the pain point that we feel at this moment, without a fiat wallet in place, and this is why we're developing one, is that once the user comes to the platform, they do like what we offer. Net. Of course, there are irks with the platform, some certain idiosyncrasies, like the way it looks, for example, or slight delay upon entry, and things like this, which these are teething issues that we're fixing. But for us, for our marketeers, the biggest challenge, which we're slowly overcoming, is 6, 7 months ago, you could tell people that, okay, come over to the crypto market. You can trade decentralized. You just have to spend a few minutes to procure Ethereum, move it to your decentralized wallet, and start trading. That would work to a certain degree. Now, if you actually ask a trader to do that, let's say even a trader who's been jaded by a shady binary options broker, or anyone that hasn't really heard of cryptocurrency, if you ask them to come over to the market, to cryptocurrency, open a an account, convert their dollars to Ethereum, get the nomenclature right with the transaction hashes and all of that, and move money to the smart contract and start trading, this is a big ask, right? And so what that effectively means is that our conversion rate, right, is somewhere in the range of 10%, 10 to 15%. With a fiat wallet, this moves statistically much higher, 20, 25, 30%, which means our campaigns that we have started to now ramp up, right? As the platform becomes smoother, new UI kicks in, they will ramp up more. The yield on those campaigns increases as well. So uh, asking traders to come over to the platform, and the only option that you have is to convert into ETH, is a slow route to growth, right? Because it's a tough ask. Our marketeers have to do a bit more convincing, et cetera, as opposed to another broker platform that says, okay, you know what, come and deposit dollars. We may pay you your wins, we may not. Unfortunately, in this industry, most people first go ahead and deposit. They take that leap of faith, and then they get scammed later on. With us, you get your wins, right? We don't ever withhold deposits. The only thing is you have to trade in Ethereum. What is happening in blockchain right now is, there's been a huge roadmap change with Ethereum.org. It happened this year, and both Casper and sharding have been pushed out by 1 and 2 years respectively. So Ethereum won't be scaled up. It won't become a commercially viable blockchain for high frequency trading applications, high frequency transaction heavy applications like ours, and especially when Betverse goes live, until 2020. That doesn't matter for us. The only reason I'm telling you all of this is that this has forced us to be adaptive and develop full scale fiat based solutions. So we leave the decentralized um, wallets in place for those who wish to trade decentralized. We offer semi-centralized trading for people who are comfortable with Ethereum, but at the same time, we have to open up the platform, especially given it's growing, as you're seeing every weekly, to the wider market who has no clue, who has no interest in risking their precious, quote unquote, I do say quote unquote, dollars or the greenback. Um, at some shoddy exchange where they have to convert it and they have to hope that they don't get hacked, right? And on top of that, they have the FX risk. So, in short, what we're effectively saying is that the market has turned into a very considerable bear market in the blockchain, right? It's hurting adoption. It's hurt the industry sector. You have guys like Nouriel Roubini, who are traditionally economic heavyweights, although I don't understand why. But you have some pretty well-respected people, along with actually exchanges very much underperforming. And exchanges, remember, are the first point of contact for people that are new to crypto into the industry, right? And if the trust can't be built at that level, products like ours, it makes no sense for us to rely on blockchain adoption to happen, and we should suffer. Our growth should be slower than expected because of that. So what I'm effectively saying is, the market has become bear, but we are sticking to our balance case right now because we haven't seen anything here in our platform for us to downgrade expectations to the bear case or anything like that. The scaling should continue, uh, and I think that's in our way of saying that it's a bullish vote of confidence. But it's very important that you all realize that it is an absolute bloodbath out there, nightmare, and also please realize that the situation is going to get much worse, much worse with exchanges, big stable coins, which are in deep trouble. Also, certain exchanges, I'm not going to mention names, but we're getting some very reliable data points, where they're actually freezing fiat deposits. None of this makes this a conducive space for people to come in and turn their hard-earned money, because the world's economy still works on fiat, into some random cryptocurrency and hope things turn out for the better. So, with that being said, this is why we're adaptive. This is why we are not going to be affected by this. We are going to be, all our products are going to be fiat ready, right? At this moment, Cassette allows traders to swipe their credit cards, but they still need to swipe into Ethereum. The Cassette 2, which, as you can see in the screen in front of you, I'm just going to give you a mini roadmap for Spectre specifically. Cassette 1 is already out, as you know. Cassette 2, which comes out in December, Jan, we'll try and push this out in December, but most likely it'll be Jan. This is just traditional fiat deposit based trading, right? And that's another massive sort of measure that we can take to speed up adoption. Okay. We have added micro expiries. As you know, they are very popular at the moment, especially the 30-second and the 10-second ones. We added capital protection on Friday or Thursday. So far, the feedback has been positive. Of course, it will take 2 or 3 weeks for us to catch any teething issues, but please try that out. That, along with the early close, which makes our smart options very unique, because you can protect your capital in the event of loss. You don't necessarily lose 100%. You can set that before you enter the trade, but also the ability to shut the trade before the expiry. These two measures together, along with our risk management, which is at this moment the only platform in the world that offers our type of risk management. If you click on risk management, you'll see what I mean. Makes us very compliant with potential regulators such as ESMA, right? Then we're planning to add stocks. The tests for that have already begun. We're testing the volatility patterns for over 500 stocks. As mentioned earlier, Cassette 2 is starting in December and December or Jan. We are planning CFDs in January and February of 2019. This is around 2 to 3 months delayed. If you look at our roadmap, that was supposed to be done, I think, by the end of this year. However, the reason behind this is it's a resource allocation towards Betverse, which is actually 3 months early. If you look at Dapverse, or Dap Store as it was called internally, at the token sale days, it was supposed to be a March 2019 release. We're actually going to be hitting that much earlier, right? So somewhere in November, maybe a bit earlier, possibly first week of December. But so we're kind of just swapping those roadmap items around. The main reason is the opportunity with Betverse is absolutely monumental. I will move now discussing about that a bit more, give you a bit of an update on where we are with that. The mobile app is already being built. It's now already 1.5 months underway. It should be out, including testing, somewhere in Jan, possibly early Feb. We have already confirmed our first white label with 2 trusted partners who are also token holders. They know the project very well. Their project is raising significant funding for the white label. It's obviously we're not shilling it here on the webinar, but just to let you know that most likely they will go live with somewhere between $500,000 to $1 million US dollars dedicated to that white label. So it'll be a pretty semi-serious to serious operation, and that goes live somewhere in February, March. Weekend trading will follow after that. Then we'll be adding all the rest of the products and asset classes like indices, bonds, and even certain ICOs that you can both long and short on the platform. The API will be in somewhere in June, July of next year. And then finally, of course, the virtual reality trading platform, which is UI2, if you want to call it, that will be towards the end of next year, early 2020. What you're looking at right now, by the way, on this screen is actually the new UI. It's fully functional. It is a completely new set of code. So we're rewriting the code. Almost 50-60% of it is new, hence the time it's taking. But If you look at this UI and you look at our features that are coming slowly but surely, we think that 6 to 8 months from now, from a technological standpoint, especially when our API is live, there will be nothing differentiating us from the current two market leaders at all. And hopefully during that period, the platform has also scaled up significantly. So for those of you that are new to the story, you have obviously probably received the impression that we're just a smart options trading platform. In fact, Spectre is just one of various decentralized or semi-centralized applications that connect to our liquidity pool. We are effectively a liquidity pool play, a decentralized autonomous liquidity pool that can back a range of decentralized or semi-centralized applications where you have conditional outcomes. So in smart options trading, it's conditional on market prices and your entry and your exit, right? And we, if you recall, the Q1 webinar, it's kind of in the medium term, we had given a very loose guidance of what type of weekly ETH payouts for SXDT token holders we're envisaging internally, right? These are levels where we can say if we can get to these levels, that's a really good job done for both sides, both the Spectre team and of course the token holders. With Spectre, you see 50 ETH at a pretty early stage in pretty bearish crypto markets. We're already paying out around 20 ETH a week. That figure is growing. I think the internal target, again, this is not an externally communicated target or anything. It's not official guidance, but internally, we always look at the current amount of daily active traders because ultimately that's what really matters in the long run. That also allows us to get the real KPIs and also the addiction factor, right? What we're seeing there is very positive, and our goal is to grow that figure by 10 times, right? Over the next 3 years, 3 to 5 years, the current spectre.ai trading platform, we would like to get to somewhere in the range of somewhere 150 to 250 ETH, with the average being 200 ETH a week, just from Spectre trading, right? The potential is much larger. If you look at our nearest competitor, again, I don't wish to mention names, but some of you that know the smart options industry, it's very obvious there are only two big ones. They are doing around 5 million, I think it was 5 million a day. Yeah. 4 million. I have the figure of 4 million a day in volumes. By comparison, Spectre on a good day does $50,000 in volumes. Again, just to restate, they are doing 4 million a day on a good day. On one of our best days, we're just doing 50K. Now, granted, that company has been around for 2 decades, so of course things take time. But you can just imagine if we're doing just 1 million a day, which is just 25% of what they're doing, that's almost 200 to 300 million a year, which is off the charts good. So the upside potential is very significant for Spectre, and we have every intention to exploit that over the coming years. And we're at this moment we are seeing the right signs that it will be possible to happen. So that's what our team is focusing on. These other products, Moonfolio goes live. It should have been last week, but there have been some last minute issues to address in the testing, so that's kind of gone back to the testing phase. We think this should be out in the next 1 or 2 weeks, with an app following very shortly. It's just a portfolio tracker, so there's no new innovation there. But what I find interesting about this is that it's got a small, neat plugin called Coin Match. So it allows you to log in, and when you're constructing your portfolio, like you would do with Blockfolio, you can actually tell the system which coins you're looking to sell in big blocks or small blocks, and which coins you're looking to buy. You just tell it, and it will match you with other users with those coins. So if you're looking to buy, I don't know, Monero, and someone's looking to sell Monero, it will tell you that, hey, you should get in touch with this person, and you can take it forward there, right? So it's like local Bitcoin. and it operates on a trust-based and a rating system. There is no smart contract. We don't act as escrow. There's no KYC. If we acted as escrow, we would need to we would need to force KYC, and that's not something we do for Moonfolio. We do it for Spectre and the Spectre Exchange, which Otto will discuss in a bit. What is important to note about this is, though, that once Moonfolio is out, it acts as a fantastic funnel to Spectre, right? For crypto people that just come to organize their portfolio, it's completely free. They learn about Spectre, they learn about Dapverse, but also it's a really good funnel for Spectre Exchange because people who get matched through the CoinMatch service there, uh, they can trade OTC over the counter in Spectre Exchange. And at Spectre Exchange, we do run KYC. So, again, we've been conservative here, but we're saying this can, in a good scenario, probably do around 5 ETH a week. Moon cases, it's almost finished. It's not something that we're going to be launching at the moment, mainly because how dreary the crypto market conditions are. The space has become a joke. It's almost become a joke, and it needs to recover reputationally. We believe it will. We're still believers in decentralization, but it only makes sense to commit resources to this when obviously things take off, especially given the traction we're seeing in Spectre and other areas. Okay, so let me just give you a quick rundown because I did discuss SXDT at great depth. I just want to speak to SXUT, and then we can move on to Betverse, which is, I think, why probably 80% of you are here. The take-up constant, or the take-up percentage in Spectre is 40% roughly, right? That means of the active traders, of the highly active traders, 40%, so close to a half of them, are actually going through the pain of finding the SXUT on the current small exchanges, wherever you can find it, which you can find on our website, getting a wallet, procuring it, and subscribing to it on the platform. It's a tedious process. We are, of course, becoming a seller of SXUT. We have purchased around $100,000 worth of SXUTs a month and a half ago. We hold it on our book. And we will allow traders to literally just purchase it from us, which is much quicker. And once that happens, we believe that that ratio should tick up, right? Because right now it's not easy to purchase any type of tokens for the average trader, let alone SXUT, even if you're on very popular exchanges. We will have SXUT unlocks on every single application that connects to the DALP, not just Spectre. So it will be there in Moonwire, in Mooncases, in Moonfolio, and most importantly, Betverse, where gamers will have the ability to place their bets and get higher payouts if they actually own a certain amount of SXUT. Right, the same way the privilege system is now officially working, real world. It's not hypothetical. There is a real utility token use case scenario live, and we have the figures to back it up. In Spectre, the same way, we believe it's going to be working in Betverse. I keep using the term Betverse and Dapverse in case some of you are new and you're wondering why I keep doing that. Dapverse is just an internal code name. The actual real name, the live name, is Betverse. We have filed for a trademark for that 2 months ago, so hopefully we'll be getting that awarded soon. There, we believe that because the volumes going through Betverse will be substantially higher in the medium to long term, probably a factor of 10 to 20, maybe even 30, 40 times higher than what we see in Spectre. We don't think the take-up percentage will be that high. For a gamer to subscribe to go and purchase tokens and get higher payouts or more DLC from SXUT, we believe there's an angle for that, but we don't think it's as strong as for a trader, especially for a medium to a professional trader, to actually buy a chunk of SXUTs and use it to beat the market. We could be proven wrong, but we are traditionally a conservative team, so we're going for a 20% there. And so basically what we'd like to see is a take-up of SXUT tokens across the entire gamut of semi-centralized and decentralized applications that connect to the pool in the coming 3 to 5 years. And because SXUT is in very restricted supply, you can check the amount of supply out there, and the fact that periodically we will be buying and burning the tokens, the um, the value of SXUT tokens is strongly underpinned. So let me discuss Betverse quickly. And I can see a lot of questions already coming in, so I'll be taking those at the end of the call. These are obviously some of the games that are in-house and some external developers have developed. We have shown you some screenshots, we've shown you some videos. All the games are now either complete or nearing completion. And in the next 6 weeks, they will be getting integrated into the back end of Betverse. So all the payouts, the bets per missions, per levels, all of that is going to be integrated and then tested, 10 to 20 people. And very importantly, we're actually getting gamers to test this, right? It's not just a bunch of fintech guys thinking that they're going to change the world with gaming. It's actually gamers who are going to be testing this. And once that's done, we can go live. If you recall, Betverse will offer developers around the world any type of game, even AAA titles, right to the very crappy, 2D titles that you see inside Telegram, for example, can connect to our pool. Developers can create a range of missions, which the liquidity pool backs, and voila, you have a huge betting market waiting for you. We offer a regulatory umbrella. That regulatory license is currently being panned out. There's a lot of fairness testing that regulators require. So that's what we're working with right now in the back end, behind the scenes with testing companies. They test our random number generators, they test the games, all those things. So that's being done. So we offer multi-million-dollar liquidity, and we offer a regulatory license. Apple, iTunes, Google Play, these guys, that's just not their mandate. They don't do this. So it's a gap in the market. And that's one that we're going for with interest in the coming 3 to 6 months. So, as you know, in Betverse, you can, as a gamer, you can come in and play any game. You can bet against the AI, and you can wager, and you can make money or you can lose money. That's all linked to the DALP. It's backed by the DALP. You can also challenge other gamers to games of pool, for example. That will be live shortly after the official go live in a few weeks. So you can do all that, right? And that's always been the case. But what's really interesting about Betverse now is that we have researched after a lot of discussion and study with existing gamers who are playing these big AAA titles like Dota, like FIFA, like Pro Evolution Soccer, and Fortnite, of course, Battle Royale. All these titles, they are basically comprising the huge $100+ billion market a year in gaming, right? And while Betverse allows us to create a new niche with our own games and invite other developers to create games where they can be monetized using betting, so it's completely new. It's no longer dependent on the ad model. Where things get really exciting is that now we have found a way for Betverse to offer player-to-player betting, completely customizable on any existing game, right? And that wasn't part of the first mandate. That is now. So that's something our engineers are working on. That effectively means is that we act as escrow, right? And how cool is that if you can go to our platform and before any round begins, whether it's a 90-minute match in FIFA or PES, or if it's a 12, if it's shortly before a 12-round boxing match in one of the main boxing titles or UFC, or if it's a Dota game or whatever it is, right? You can come to our platform and you can bet against other gamers, your opponent, and the funds will effectively go to an escrow. They'll rest there, and after the outcome is known, after the round is over, the winner wins, the loser loses, and the DALP makes a certain percentage cut, right? So what we're doing here is we're tapping existing massive AAA title markets where betting doesn't exist. And what's really interesting is we discuss this with current community owners of FIFA Online, PS Online, of current hardcore gamers that are playing these games. And we ask them, does something like this exist? If it does, in what form? And yeah, let's just put it this way, that it's a very strong signal for us to go ahead and develop this and offer this. And we can do this with our regulatory license. So this has opened up a very, very significant avenue for us to explore. And we are very, very excited about that specific development. So here you see some screens of the sports betting that will be offered on Dapverse, Betverse eventually. You see the new UI, you see Moon Cases, you see Moonfolio. I will now turn this over to Otto, who's our head of research and development. He's going to discuss with you a little bit about our exchange, which will be launching. I'll let Otto let you know when we'll be launching, but it's imminent. And you can also queue your questions for Otto towards the end. We are nearing the end of our webinar. So let me just turn this to Otto right now. Hey, Otto.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, go
Thanks, Kay.
Sure.
Right, good to see so many of you here today. Thanks for joining. And I'll be quickly going through a few key aspects of the upcoming exchange. Now, what you see on the screen at the moment is just the very first website design mockup that we have created. And of course, you see at the top left corner, the name still is tokens. When, as per your request, we will be, of course, changing it to spectre.ai, so don't worry about that. This is just a very initial design. Now, about a few key points that I wanted to mention about the exchange, just to encounter a few questions that might arise later on anyways, would be, yeah, okay, thanks for the next slide. Right, it took a bit of time to upload from my side. Anyways, we believe that in order to build a proper exchange, we need to provide options for users to make fiat deposits to start trading. And for that, we aim to implement various payment portals, with Uphold being probably the first one. As most of Spectre users are already familiar with it, we are familiar with it, and it is easy to use. We will also be providing different order types like market, limit, and stop loss, essentially pending orders. This is because we want to provide professional crypto traders a place to trade our tokens and other cryptocurrencies as well. Regarding security, you do know that we do take security very seriously. Thus, we have extremely high standards when it comes to it, and the exchange is no exception. There are various different techniques used to secure the platform and the users trading there. And as per our research and development, we have tested out many different exchanges in the past, and what we have found is that a lot of them have user interfaces that are really uncomfortable to use and perhaps even confusing. So what we aim to do is just to make the platform as easy to use as possible, so it would be a trouble-free onboarding for you. The next thing worth mentioning is that we are developing this exchange so that all of you would have a trustworthy and a safe place to trade your SXUT and SXDT tokens. So the fees involved will be very minimal, most likely even the best ones you have seen on the market. Of course, we will also be listing more tokens and coins on the platform over time in the future. And we, of course, will not be asking for any outrageous listing fees. These will be kept to an absolute minimum, most likely and probably among the lowest you have witnessed. Considering the situation with the exchanges and they increasing their listing fees over time, is just simply the trend that we will not be following, and we will try to keep it always as reasonable as possible, just to cover up for any implementation fees that are involved with any new coin listings. In terms of the trading volume, initially it really is up to you all, okay? But on longer term, we are quite ambitious. We aim to become one of the, if not the top exchange platforms to trade cryptos at. With a lot of issues with crypto exchanges recently, we plan to do this right, and we want to be more user-friendly, more responsive, be secure and reliable. And if we do achieve that, then I believe that this will be the main driver for the users to migrate their crypto trading activities over to our exchange. And the exchange itself, we sincerely hope to finalize the development by the end of November. And this will, of course, include all the testing. We want to root out any bugs you might experience. So a full release, we hope, will see the light in the end of November. So fingers crossed. So I just kept it really short and sweet for you guys. Wanted you to have a brief overview, what you can expect with the upcoming exchange. So back to you, Kay.
Thanks, Otto, for that. All right. So with that, we are done with the boring bit of the webinar. Now let the exciting bit of the webinar begin, the Q&A. Please, everyone at once, go ahead and submit your questions. I will respond to them, and Otto will respond to any ones which are pertinent to him. If they're more about R&D or technology, Otto can take those, or certainly about the exchange, which is his baby, and we have assembled a team around him to take this forward. If it's about Spectre AI trading platform, or if it's about Betfirst in general, I'm definitely your man. So please go ahead. And I'm glad we're making good time today. If I'm not wrong, we're just 30 minutes, 35 minutes in. Normally we're kind of 3 hours in by this stage. Okay. Yes. Michael Scanlon is asking, is there any update, Kay, on the dropshipping company using the DAO? The dropshipping company has received a private buyout offer of, I'll give a range. It's somewhere in the 20 to 40 million US range. And the management teams are in talks for the last 3 months. And that we're kind of in a holding pattern right now. So there's not much I can say on this at that point. Question from Thomas Coutier. To what is related the API going out in June, July? Yeah, good question, Thomas. So on our platform right now, on the spectre.ai financial trading platform, you can only trade manually. So you need to log in and actually press the up and down buttons. Or if you want to trade through the MT4 bridge, there is a third-party affiliate that offers that service. But we don't have a formal application protocol interface, which is what API stands for, which allows developers to create a range of signals-based products or robots, trading robots, or any conditional-based algorithms that can auto-execute trades on the platform and manipulate our risk management API and all those things, right? So we have a very rich platform. If you actually go inside Spectre, you'll see it not only has a lot of assets, but we're the only smart options platform that's open almost 24 hours. I mean, literally, it's 24 hours, right? Most platforms shut after 8 p.m. midnight. They don't allow traders to trade after the MOC. So that, and also we have a lot of risk management. We want to offer that as nodes, as endpoints, so developers, financial fintech developers, can develop a range of products and services around it, and traders can access our trading, not necessarily just through our UI, but their own. Yeah, a follow-up question from Thomas regarding the white labels and the rewards. So it's a good question. 2% of each trade, as you know, goes to, on the smart options asset class, goes to SXTT, and 2% to Spectre. For the white labels, 0.3%, anywhere from 0.3 to 0.5% will go to Spectre. of which 70% goes to SXDT token holders, um, and 30% of that will go to the DALP. On top of that, the DALP, the monthly retainer that we charge to white label operators, which ranges from $500 to $5,000 a month, depending on the operator, depending on their demands, will be DALPed as well. I hope that clarifies. I see a question from Jim Jones. What do you think about dice games on EOS? Could you clarify that question? Do you mean what is my general view on dice games on EOS, or you mean dice games that connect inside Betverse to our DALP? Okay, I see a question from Peter Baxter. When will the traders in the UK be able to trade on the platform? We think probably 2 weeks from now. We're basically in the process of forming a SVG company that's already been started. So, in fact, that was 2 weeks ago. And so, somewhere in the range of 2 to 4 weeks from now, it should be ready. The delay is purely on the side of the regulator. We can't appear as desperate, calling them up every day and sending them continuous emails. It sends a wrong message. Unfortunately, the binary option firms have scorched the earth behind them as they've left the industry. So legitimate firms have a tougher regulatory climate to navigate. And with the UK, we want to present ourselves, which is exactly what we are, as a fraud-free, very transparent platform. And it just takes a bit of time, I guess, for the regulator to do certain things. So we do apologize for that delay. Okay, question from Howard Jones. Is there any indication whether weekly devots will be liable for capital gains or income tax? This depends on the geography. It's a good question. And we do produce for you a tax receipt. You certainly should seek local tax advice for that. I'm not sure about income tax, but I can see them being liable for capital gains. So please definitely check that. Question from Kayvon. I know it's a big if, but if a sidechain of BTC is fully tested and workable, could the DApp rewards be paid on BTC in the future? Yes. Obviously, we need to. I don't know. Do you mean trading in Bitcoin against the DApp? Because that would require smart contracts. I know Roger Ver is working on a smart contract language for Bcash. I don't know about Bitcoin if there's one being developed, but if it's just tokenization manually at the end of each week into Bitcoin and then paid out on a side chain, yeah, the answer is yes. If there's demand for that, we can do that. See a question from Milan. Is it valid to join Spectre for an Indian? Yes, absolutely. Steve Daly, what kind of promotion advertising is planned for Spectre Exchange? Good question, Steve. So at first, we want to onboard a good portion of the, I would say, dispersed volume. It's currently dispersed across small / unprofessional, questionable exchanges. Maybe one is good or so. We want to bring that. There is good volumes going through. If you look at the overall aggregate liquidity, you can't really trust CoinMarketCap, not because of it's their fault. It's just the exchanges that are connected don't report volume correctly. There's a lot of bots. There's a lot of crap. So we have certain mechanisms of checking, and there's decent volumes. If we can just get that on the platform, that's already a huge win. It's more volumes that are going on that than the actual spectre.ai trading at the moment. So it's a pretty big win there. In terms of advertising, the way we want to position ourselves is because it'll have a license. It'll be regulated, not immediately at launch, but 3 to 4 months after that. We want to focus the listing by token on tokens like ours, and so that involves a significant due diligence process. The token listing, as Otto alluded to, will be the cheapest in the industry. It'll be something like $1,000 one off or something ridiculous, or like $300-400 a month. The goal is for us is to make money on the carry, on the actual trading. We're not interested in scamming legitimate startups in this space or even existing projects just because they had a big raise. That's just not our ethos. We're completely the opposite of the current 800-pound gorillas in the space. And so at first, it'll more be us approaching them and saying, look, you can do this for very low cost, and we can allow your token to be advertised to our community. It is very important that the tokens they list are also rewarding, as in they actually yield. We want to be an exchange that 80 to 90% of our tokens actually yield. And that'll be our USP. In terms of advertising, it'll be your traditional channels. So we are building our network quite wide and slowly in depth in the crypto space through certain crypto publications which aren't tarnished by the brush of moral hazard, and we'll just be whatever funnel we're using for Spectre, we'll be using for Spectre Exchange. It's quite simple. We have also entered talks with one or two pretty big YouTubers, crypto YouTubers. They're quite known. I've done a few talks with them. They are marketeers by nature. As you know, we're more fintech, and those guys are cautiously optimistic in our vision with the exchange. And getting one of them on board would be pretty transformational to its scaling, right? At this point, I do want to state, however, is that our mandate has never been to be an exchange. That's not what the token sale was for. It was to build out dApp Store, if you remember, and grow spectre.ai, and that's what we're doing. We've had to do this because of the necessity, and necessity always breeds innovation. That's always been the case in evolution. That's what we're doing right now. We, as Otto has said, of course, long term, if things go well, we are ambitious, um, but we're never going to sacrifice our core mandate, right? So the growth in the exchange will come when it comes, and we're not going to be throwing money at it. I see a question from Dumindu. Will there be an affiliate program for Spectre Exchange? If yes, what are the commissions? Very good question. No CPA. It's purely rev share. Very similar to what you're seeing with Spectre AI. And there will be a affiliate program for Spectre Exchange and for Betverse as well. Eon Papas, will I be able to sell my cryptos for dollars? And Otto, by the way, if you see any questions here that you want to take, just I'm going to unmute you actually. So.
Yeah, thanks for unmuting. Although unfortunately I don't see the question section, so that's going to be
Sorry
difficult.
about that.
No worries.
Okay, that's weird. I made you a panelist, but I guess you don't see that. Okay, well, let me just see. I'll go through them, and if I see one that I think is fitting for you, any exchange one I'll just give to you. So,
yeah. What was the latest question, by the way? The one that you just read out.
Basically, will I be able to sell my crypto for dollars in the exchange platform you're building? Go ahead, that's yours.
Okay. Yeah, the exchange itself will be completely peer-to-peer. So you can exchange whatever offers you see in the order book. So yes, essentially, yeah, you can sell your Bitcoin for USD and then later on just withdraw the USD that you have on your account balance. Easy as that. But it is peer-to-peer. We are not really the other side of your trade.
Yeah, we're not the book, so to put it.
Exactly.
Okay, Damjan is asking for SXDT sorry, I almost said Tolak there. For SXDT token holders, in order to get dividend, do you need to put these tokens on platform or just hold them in the wallet? Which wallet? Thank you. Actually, Otto, this is probably one you can take as well, right?
Yeah, sure. What you have to do is just have to hold the D tokens in your wallet, most preferably that is created in my Ether wallet, for example, or MetaMask. These have been confirmed to be completely operational without any hassle. But just make sure that this is your private ETH address that you have the private key for. And if that is the case, then you will be able to use that ETH address on the rewards portal and just manage your dividends and rewards on the rewards portal itself. Just make withdrawal or collect them and withdraw all at once. So just a private ETH address.
Okay.
Hold them there.
Cool. Nicholas Karkolets is asking, Will Satko get final say on Betverse funds? She absolutely will not. Brandon Goff is asking, when will SXDT dividends start being pushed to respective wallets rather than us having to pull them out? Otto, you want to take that one? Or shall I take that one?
You can take that one.
Yeah. It's a good question. So originally, I think at the end of last year when our token sale ended, we were looking at a 2019 push towards that. So Brandon, that nothing has changed there. What we have seen this year is that there are a lot of inefficiencies in the Ethereum blockchain with regards to gas prices and all that. And the economics just don't add up unless we bill gas to you and push them. So we're going to be working on a solution for this. We totally agree the right way to do it is to beam it to you. It's just nonsensical to ask you to log in and withdraw. The reason we engineered this was simply because there was two concerns. One was, of course, gas. Second was security issues. Um, we will be working on this, but I wouldn't hold your breath on this. It's not a roadmap item, so this will take finger in the air, 6 to 8 months at least. There has been some feedback we have received. I had a chat with Zizis, our chief operating officer, who's run the maths, that it's cheaper for us to actually move to monthly dividends. Just because the way the blocks work, you still end up paying the similar amounts of gas, even if you only withdraw it once. Excuse me. So it's not something I want to discuss on this webinar, but we'll be sending out a poll to the community. Please vote on that seriously if you want to move to weekly to monthly rewards. Me personally, I think, excuse me, we should stick to weekly rewards. I think it's a great way to keep abreast of progress in the firm, but also it really sets us apart from so many projects, right? Probably the or one of the only projects that's paying out weekly, and I think there's, in my opinion, nothing more transparent than that. So yes, monthly is fine if it means that it's cheaper for you guys, but definitely have a think about it. If like 80% of you say, yeah, this gas is just ridiculous, I'd rather just do it monthly or whatever, we're happy to do that as well. It's easier for us, actually. So a question from Domindo Giet. Any ideas to submit Betverse apps to Google Play as a marketing funnel? Yes, I'm glad you brought that up. And not only Google Play, but Apple as well. In fact, Apple has changed its rules recently. You can actually have apps that have betting in them and financial transactions as long as it's not happening using Apple servers. That's really good for us. On top of that, we just yesterday, I haven't shown any information of that on this webinar. I was introduced by our developers to the Telegram Betverse bot, which is exactly like GameE's bot. Some of you that playing in Telegram, the 2D games. They're really well done by a company called GameE. They have a completely different monetization model. We are launching something very similar. It'll have around 18 games on Telegram. All of them are DALPed, so you can come over to Betverse, sign up, and start betting, making money on them as well. Um, and Telegram has, I think, over 100 million monthly active users, if those stats that they publish are right. So it's an awesome, awesome free marketing channel for us, right? Because those games will be telling people to come over to Betverse. Okay, I see a question from Dan Pierce. What cooperation, if any, with AAA game makers would be required to host bets in their games? Fantastic question, Dan. Guess what? No cooperation required. A question from Abrar Khan. Hi, why is the withdrawal fee so high on the rewards platform? I wouldn't know. Otto, is that something you can provide color on?
I think you actually just answered that. This is due to the weekly dividend system at the moment. If we would
Okay.
move to the monthly dividend distribution, then of course the fees would be a lot lower. And that's what I can say at the moment.
Got it. Okay. Is there a plan to release an iOS version of Betverse-based mobile apps? Yes, Domingo, there is. Not every game will have an iOS version because iOS accounts for 21% of the global mobile market. So yeah, it's not insignificant, but it's not the 80%. Android is the bigger thing for us. Howard Jones is asking, when a player buys a skin in a game, how much percentage commission will the SXCT holders receive? This is not something that we can, this level of depth, we can't get into on this, I'm afraid. When it is out, of course, then we will have webinars dedicated to that, and you'll be able to see that. Chris Spector is asking, is there possibility to reserve fiat payouts on the exchange, or will it be token form traded with an ETH pairing? Otto, I think this one's for you. Let me read this out for you again.
Yeah, please.
Is there the possibility to reserve fiat payouts on the exchange? Sorry, receive fiat payouts on the exchange, or will it be in token form traded with an ETH pairing? Thanks.
Okay, if I understood your question correctly, then I'm just coming back to the statement that you will be trading peer-to-peer. Essentially, what you will be doing, you can make deposits in fiat. You will then be using that fiat to buy or trade any tokens you wish. And then later on, you can either withdraw those tokens, send it to your address, or if you make any trades where you will be gaining the US dollars, then you will simply withdrawing those US dollars to your bank account. So this is exactly how it goes. Whatever asset you hold, whatever asset you want to withdraw, you will be getting that onto your possession if you withdraw. I do hope that it answered the question. If it didn't, then please go ahead and rephrase.
Thanks, Otto. Okay, follow up from Jim Jones. Are EOS dice games in any way the seed of future competition? Uh yeah, I would say so. Look, Jim, they're going to be competitors. EOS is a $1 billion project, and for some reason, very well respected um, in the crypto space. And they have some dApps out, which I think together are having somewhere in the range of 10,000 users in totality. All of them have no KYC, so obviously you know our stance on that. If they don't address the realities of market adoption, the realities of regulations as a project, then the answer to you is no. There is no competition there because it's an unsustainable business model that will burn. If they get serious and they do what we're doing, then of course there will be competition, and we very much look forward to that. There's no fun in winning without a real fight. Okay, I see a question from Steve Martin. As a team, are Spectre happy with the progress so far? Is this better than initial expectations? Please look after the team's health as you do seem to be working very hard. Thanks, Steve, for your kindness. It's so as a culture, we're very glasses half empty. We really don't like to be braggadocious about anything. Um, it all comes down to the numbers. The numbers are so far in line with expectations. Our internal incentivization with the large volume of tokens that we hold as a management team, it doesn't get exciting for us until the token prices are at $15 in that range, $10 to $15. We can't get there unless we hit certain numerical benchmarks until certain institutional investor money comes in over the next 3 to 5 years. So we're really in it for the long game. And so far, we're hitting all the internal KPIs. You know, that's the most we can say at this stage. When we hit 100 ETH a week, or let's say 75 ETH a week with spectre.ai, at that point, I'll say, okay, you know what, team, well done. We're doing a good job. At this moment, there's nothing to get excited about. We're just not that type of team. There are a lot of ICO teams that get very excited when the CEO farts, or when they suddenly they install KYC and they start putting out tweets about how they're the only platform that does KYC, and their shares go up by 10%. we're just not that type of project. So are we happy? We have no emotions.
Yeah, we work like robots, but we are all in it, for the long run. We are in the same boat, so we all really enthusiastically work towards the same goal. So there are no complaints. Thanks for worrying about our health, though.
Yeah, that is a serious concern. I mean, look, I would be lying if I said that we don't have unusually high fair share of doctors' visits, right? Because yeah, it's not easy to meet most, if not all, roadmap items on time. Um, and it's the most important thing is that it's a sacrifice that we think is definitely
It's
required. I
worth
mean,
it.
it's worth it. I mean, it's certainly in the long run. We are the biggest token holders. People come to us sometimes, slightly angry investors, and I totally understand their pain when they say, why aren't the token prices 110 times higher or something, or why aren't you paying 50 to 100 ETH in divs? And that's very legit questions. But I will also respond by saying that if you think you own a lot of tokens, we are the biggest token holders, right? We don't get rich from an ICO. We get rich when we sell this baby for half a billion or a billion or something like that, right? That's when things get exciting for us. So um, the health situation has improved. I mean, if you look at December, I was very disturbed to find out that our CTO's number two, who's been with us for over 7-8 years now, was rushed to the hospital amidst the token sale because his blood pressure had fallen to a very very low level. It had fallen to uh, the heart was doing something called bradycardia, where it was barely beating. It was very very low, and he was rushed, and he had to spend 2 or 3 nights there. That was because of exhaustion. He was awake for 3 nights straight. So we're not having that anymore. Touch wood. But let's just say there's a lot going on in the background, which we uh, keep internally to ensure you guys have a safe ride. Okay, I see another question from Milan saying, "Can Indians trade?" Yes, please. If you're Indian, go ahead and trade. George Formosa is saying, "What if ETH goes down?" Yes, good point. So George, ETH will go down. The way things are looking in the short run, it will be range bound. We think, not investment advice, but again, between 200 and 400. So there is some slack. There is some upside in the short term. But given what's happening to Ethereum right now, there's no scaling possible for the next 1 or 2 years. So commercial adoption will suffer. On top of that, there is so much price overhang, valuation overhang in deeply overvalued, deeply delusional projects in the space. And when investors in those projects start to realize just how difficult it is to actually build a real business, as opposed to just keep promising, that's when we think ETH will come down further. In answer to your question, if ETH comes down, for us, we're fine. We're hedged. As you recall, we hedged many months ago. We did see this coming. Not to sound braggadocious, but it was quite obvious at 1,400. Um, we would have evolved and escaped um, the gravitational pull of Ethereum downward by then, because we would have launched Betverse is launching with fiat integration, and by then spectre.ai would have a fully fiat ready wallet as well. So it doesn't impact us that much. We have a few thousand ETH in intermediate liquidity remaining at the moment, which we have to keep in ETH because we people are trading in Ethereum. We're going to hold on to that because the kind of the 3 year view is yes, okay, sorry, 1 to 2 year view is that yes, Ethereum could go lower, materially lower, but equally we do also believe in the Ethereum team on a 5 to 10 year basis, and in that, if we're talking about these ultra long term timeframes, I am very confident. Again, it's not investment advice that Ethereum will be at a significantly higher level than the peak we saw in January, right? And we want to be around with our few thousand ETH when that happens, because that'll be a huge, huge gain for everyone. So I hope that kind of answers your question. I see a question from Christopher Ross. I recall you saying that if rewards are above certain value, then the team held SXDT would pass those rewards on to general SXDT holders a year-end bonus. Is there any guidance on that target amount? There is no guidance on that, but we can give a more concrete numerical figure once the year is over. And we stand by that statement. Volkert Berg is asking, how will full fiat trading on Spectre benefit the DALP and SXT holders? Manual tokenization, Volkert, on a weekly basis. Gareth Patterson, will D holders receive the trading fees from the exchange? Yes. Steve Martin, will the exchange allow or not allow bots? Not a single robot is going to be in our exchange. That's what's brought down the industry, so there's no way we're going to be contributing to that. Rude Brandenburg is saying, is the cost of listing tokens in the exchange will be so cheap, aren't you afraid many shit tokens will want to enter the exchange? I'll let Otto.
They
Yeah,
can
go ahead, Otto.
apply. They can apply, of course, but that doesn't matter that we are going to accept them because we're going to, as Kay also mentioned, we're going to do significant due diligence, and we will be analyzing the projects. We'll be analyzing the potential future of those tokens. And if they have a bright future ahead, to our mind, then our collective consensus will then determine whether we set it up on the exchange or not.
Yeah.
So we will not be allowing shit tokens on the exchange.
I think Otto really hit the nail on the head. As an exchange, you have to take a view on the project you're listing long term. Just as a corporate lawyer, you take a view on the client you're taking, right? How much can you get out of that client in the long term? Same thing here. If we just list any crappy token just to get volume, it's fine in the short term for your rewards, but long term, if something happens to their management team, let's say they pull a Centra, right? Those degenerates in the United States, the credit card company. Imagine if we had listed a Centra token, it totally hits our brand. We get investigated by regulatory authorities. The Spectre brand goes to mud. So the only option for us is to list the best in the industry, right? And I will also go on to say that if I look at the top 10 right now, we would probably not list 80% of the coins there. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, most likely. I agree with that.
I mean, we just, or let's say the top 20 or top 30, most of them wouldn't even qualify.
Yeah, I mean, there will definitely be a very, very deep and thorough due diligence performed for all those projects.
Yeah. Question from Thomas Couturier. Can we have a few words on Terra? Yes, Terra, because crypto market is suffering, the theme of Terra was crypto. It was actually called Crypto Land, Terra being the code name. We're repurposing that for the giant fiat world out there. It will, of course, accept cryptos, but it won't be just crypto themed. And development of that will begin at some point. I would say, probably at the end of this year, and we will look to get a demo out in 2019, possibly September to October, November. Ion Papas is asking, is it possible to make an app so that people can bet against each other for real football games? Yes, Ion, we are doing that. So that's being done. That's what we're adding to Betverse now. Stefan Bernius, you have no women on the team. Why is that? Give me 1 second. We actually have three, four. We have three and a fourth woman joining. One of a very senior auditor is on the team, and she's a woman. I hope that answers your question, Stefan. Also, this is a question for you. Rav is asking, so with withdrawing, say, BTC to USD, will we use Uphold then from Uphold to our bank account?
At first, yes, Uphold will be the only solution to deal with the fiat deposits and withdrawals. That will be the initial option, although we will be adding more gateways for you to utilize the withdrawals and deposits. So yeah, there will be additional options available, but Uphold is the easiest one that you are also used to. We are also used to. They are our partners who are working closely with them. And yeah, Uphold first, everything else later.
Yeah. Question from Adam Ramar. Have you considered offering tokens that list on Spectre Exchange the bonus of being incorporated into spectre.ai and then sharing a percentage of the trading income from the token with their team? Do you mean, Adam, that you can trade smart options on the tokens that are on our exchange? So you can basically bet up or down in the Spectre AI trading platform, and then volumes from that will be repatriated to their team? Is that your question? Question from Kolawole Embulumo. Please, I would like to know when trading with fiat starts. Are we as XTT token holders also going to get weekly rewards in fiat? No. The trading with fiat will begin some point in January. From now, based on the way things look now, I'm saying January. The SXTT token holders are going to get rewards weekly, but in ETH. So we're manually tokenizing them, and you'll be getting them in ETH. See a question from Amanel Girmay. Will the token holders benefit from the fees of the exchange? Yeah, Otto, they will, right?
We'll be discussing that actual structure. There are just few details that we haven't really put in place yet, but we'll see and look into that.
I mean, just to be clear, the token holders, the DALP, the SXGT, they will be definitely getting a portion of the weekly volumes. That's for sure. In terms of the exact percentage, that's still something that we're working on, if that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, Damjan is asking, will the exchange be decentralized, more like Ether Delta, or more like local Bitcoins? As far as I understand, it's centralized, but Otto, please go ahead.
Sorry, I was distracted for a brief moment. Can you repeat? Sorry.
Sure. He's asking if the exchange will be decentralized or centralized.
It will be a centralized exchange.
Okay. Okay, Jim is asking, any chance of moving sort of to EOS? There is no current sort of motivation for us to move to EOS, Jim. We are currently looking for long-term migration. Here's the thing: people will always be able to trade using Ethereum. We are long-term believers in Ethereum, so we're not going to ditch them. But we are looking at a sidechain, Raiden network for certain applications, and we're also looking at Radix. I believe, Otto, you were researching it recently, right?
Yeah, I was, and it actually is quite fascinating what they are actually attempting to achieve. Although we cannot really perform any significant tests on our own because it's not really properly fully released yet. They are working on it, and we most likely will be able to get our hands on it, or the beta at least, or start testing in the first half of next year, hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's all about security. It's about the stress testing. Ethereum has gone through a lot of it. EOS, when they launched, had a security flaw. You know, that doesn't exactly send the best message to projects like ours. Um, so
Yeah, exactly. And most likely after all this testing, obviously they will also need to go through their own teething period. And before any migration can be considered even to that system, I believe it will be in the beginning of 2020, not earlier, just to allow them to go through all of their mistakes and
yeah,
get their shit together, so to say.
yeah. Okay, Domindo's asking, what are the trading fees and withdrawal fees in Spectre Exchange? Otto, can we give this information now or not yet?
No, not yet.
Okay.
We will share that in the future. But as I mentioned before, the fees, they will be as low as we can possibly make them.
Yeah. Okay. Question for Otto from Thomas Coutier. Otto, I have a question. Can't we imagine using the ERC 1404 and switch from SXDT to have a new security-driven Tolak? Any comment on that?
Hmm. I am not familiar in complete detail with that new protocol, so I can't really provide an exact answer. But obviously, we are always open for innovation and upgrades and improvement. So anything you can suggest, we'll be more than happy to take a look into and then go ahead. Yeah, you can write an email about that so we can, take it further.
See a question from Marin. How many games can we exactly expect at launch of Betverse? 18 games, 2D, possibly 19, with the 19th being Crypto Run, which is the fully sort of padded out 3D game that we're developing for OS X and PC. So, a question from Ann D. Any update on US regulation progress? No, Ann, we're not holding our breath on that one. See a question from Anthony Keeley. I believe, Anthony, your question was already answered about the UK license, so I won't go through that. Dan, good question on patents. Nothing at this moment to report, but we did hear back from the UK Patent Authority with some feedback and questions, and we're currently addressing it with legal. That's the only advice, the only update I have on that. Liam Reynolds is asking, how do you pay your staff from Spectre profits? So we obviously pay our staff from a combination of the revenues generated per week, but also the raise, and also, as you recall, we have been working with our staff for 7, 8 years. We have established businesses which are generating income every week, and so that's how we are effectively paying our staff. Chris Beck has a suggestion for you, Otto. Could you please make sure trading fees, withdrawal fees can be paid in ETH/BTC on the exchange?
Right, okay, thanks for the feedback. I'll just mark this one down then for you.
Thanks. Good question from Dan. Dan is asking, will there be a relationship between Betverse and Terra? Yes. Terra is effectively the virtual version, if you will, of Betverse, if that makes sense. See a question from Bart van Moelheim. Still looking into the Hong Kong firm regarding invoice factoring. Any other trading generating extra income for DALP? Yes, very good question. Bart, very good question. In fact, I'll tie this with Nick's question in terms of what investments the DALP is looking into. We have been running due diligence on an Armenian/British company that is active in the wireless communications space. They have grown from literally zero almost in 2016 September to this year 2.7 million pounds in revenues. They make around 40,000 pounds a month in net income. Very excited about the business. The only thing is that their figures are let's just say less than tax compliant. So to incorporate such an entity uh, does pose a regulatory burden on us. We have to. It just takes time, and also due diligence wise, it takes time. Their accounts are not consolidated, which can be read in the company's house. They're not audited, um, but their incoming bank receipts, which we have seen month by month, are very impressive. Um, to give you some rough figure, roughly speaking, if we were to acquire such a business or partner in such a business, it would add per week maybe another 50 ETH to 60 ETH of devos, right? We have entered talks with another, one active in the food and beverage sector, again as an investment that would add potentially around another 20 to 30 ETH a week. So we are continuously looking, but we only move forward once it meets certain parameters. Regarding the Hong Kong firm, uh, Velo, professional team, regulated, professional setup. Very impressed by them. We need more people like that from the invoice factoring space in this world to give it legitimacy. Um, the only downside is the returns profile doesn't add up. It's a Otto. What was it? Because you were running due dil on them, right?
Yeah, let me just, I think it was 87%
Yeah,
per
per year.
per year. Per
Yeah,
year, yeah,
per
exactly.
year. So obviously, initial talks we thought it was 7 to 8% on a revolving invoicing credit facility, which would be around for every 3 months, which is maybe something we can consider. But per year, I mean, we're getting 5% on commercial grade paper, which is ranked at BBB, triple B, right? And it's trading above par with low risk, good yield to maturity, low duration. I'm speaking bond speak right now, but for those of you that understand about yielding and instruments, so invoice factoring is fine, but it kind of sucks from an investment standpoint. It's just not worth the risk at 7 to 8% a year. So we won't be proceeding with that. We would need 30% a year. Those are the type of returns that DALP is seeking. So yeah. Question from Sunil: are you going to introduce options trading on BTC? Sorry, BETH and ETH. Do you mean on spectre.ai or the exchange, Sunil? Okay, Otto, here's a question for you.
Right.
Will I
Okay,
be
can
able to?
you?
Yeah.
Mm,
Will I be able to buy USDT Tether uh,
okay.
on the exchange?
Tether is not currently implemented there at the moment, but I am considering it for future implementation indeed.
Okay. Louis Latuca, what's the long-term outlook on divs in ETH on Dapverse in north of 200 ETH, which was show earlier? Yeah, Louis. So we, the gaming market is currently around 30 times the size of the smart options market. It's $108 billion a year. And it's growing at a ridiculous multiple. I mean, that's the thing. 5 to 10 years from now, it is not too absurd to consider a world where everything is gamified and gaming is so deeply ingrained and these instant rewards, etc., um, that the market maybe even reaches $1 trillion. Right? I mean, I don't mean to sound like Doctor Evil, but it is literally game changing, pun intended. So the 200 ETH kind of loose guidance, that's kind of what we would like to get Betverse to. But if, of course, Betverse does get the traction we expect it to in the next 3 to 5 years, I certainly at current ETH prices, it's $200 per Ethereum. I think that's probably somewhere. I would say it's a bearish forecast, right? That's a conservative forecast. 200 ETH a week is roughly $40,000 a week. That comes to $160,000 a month. And if it's split 50-50, that means that it's making $320,000 a month. Uh, Revs. That's $3 to $4 million a year in revenue. That is a drop in the pond of the gaming market, right? So what we're aiming for with Betverse, I mean, again, of course, we're so early, we haven't even launched yet. It would be frivolous of me to talk numbers, but uh, if things take off like we're expecting on the betting side, if the USP does monetize that we're expecting, then of course the upside. I mean, if you look at other companies that have monetized, other developers that have monetized in the space just with one game, take Wargaming for example. They made I think $500 million last year. So I would say the 200 is just a product of our usual conservatism, and I'd leave it at that right now. It's very difficult for me to say more, but I would say that it's that's a very very fair and reachable target.
One side note here to make as well regarding the gaming industry is that the
Yeah.
gaming industry currently, in its current state, is in terms of revenues per year, it's larger than the film industry, believe it or not.
Wow.
So, and it is growing. So it's really good and important to tap into that market for longer term.
Yeah. I mean, I second that. It's the whole point of positioning, and we're positioning ourselves early. We could have positioned ourselves even earlier and beaten a company like Wargaming to the punch with World of Tanks, but we didn't. Um, but I think that we're entering at a very interesting time. Uh, okay, Atlar Ahmed, your question about feeds from fiat trades, yeah, as I think responded to earlier, it will be included in your weekly devos. Christopher Ross is asking, sportsbook opening up to more states in the US. Is Spectre currently looking to partner with anyone that's based in the US? Let me answer that first. You have a two-part question. We are looking into what impact, because yes, you're absolutely right. We have been discussing our legal team, our lawyers actually based in Texas. So we confirm what you just said. It's on a state by state basis. We need to see where skills based betting outcomes fall within US legislature. The answer right now is not clear. We're going to be doing a study. I would say if we can enter the US, uh, here's the thing: we can certainly enter the US with KYC and offer our games for standard DLC or purchases of skins and all that. Where we can't, where we need to restrict US users, is of course on the betting side, unless we can come under skills based betting, and we need to see what the treatment for that is. Does that make sense? So it's a bit of a nuanced approach in the US. So to reiterate, an American can come into our platform for Betverse, not for the financial trading side, and open and play all games for demo money. There's no risk there. So they can do that, no KYC. They need to get KYC um, once they commit real money to the platform, and even then, only then, they can only be playing the games where they're buying cosmetic upgrades, for example, or buying downloadable content. They won't be able to bet until we get the go ahead from locals there, and we haven't gotten that yet. Okay, Uphold is your second question. You're saying that Uphold is acquiring a broker in the USA. Any possible open avenues for Spectre? Uh, Unfortunately, that's a sensitive thing right now. It's not something we talk to Uphold every week, so it's not something I can comment on at this very moment. Okay, Rav is asking a good question. Going back to the Radix, if you're looking at side chains like Radix, then does that mean creating Spectre's own blockchain is out of the window? Here's what I would say: we are working, Otto and the team and we have been working on a concept now for over a year called Bubble um, slash Smart Link. Okay, and it's not really a blockchain; it's a completely different concept. I would say it is not a priority. It's something we're just going to keep hammering out. Eventually, Otto and the team will put a white paper together in the next 2 3 years, and we'll see kind of where it goes. But again, this is it's a hobby, right? Um, there is no commercial sense in committing funds right now and resources to create our own blockchain. The most important thing right now for the firm is to grow the hell out of itself, is to scale up ASAP. And if that means offering fiat trading, that's totally fine with us. It's all about shareholder ROI, right? And that's all that matters. The blockchain um, impetus around the world is failing, unfortunately. Uh, Temporary, of course, it's temporary. All bubbles have seen this. There is genuine tech here. There's just no point in us trying to uh, swim against the tide at this moment. Thank you, Kayvon, for your kind feedback. Okay, a question from Domindu. Have you evaluated the possibility of moving to VeChain, which is built on Solidity? They have multi-party payments, multi-clause payments, and going to launch infrastructural dApp for KYC. Um, I will check with our CTO on that. I know he's been looking to VeChain. Otto, do you have any comments on that?
No, not necessarily VeChain. I haven't looked into it from my side, but I will be more than happy to.
Yeah. Yes, Chris, a good question on the mining. So, as you know, we have 50 rigs. They are being migrated to none other than Siberia in Russia shortly with a mining as a service company. You may have heard of them. It's the Elevate Group. You can actually get in touch with them. Let us know your feedback. Um, the 50 rigs were shut off months ago, so they aren't contributing to weekly devos. Once they go live at current prices, we think it'll probably be 1 or 2 ETH a week most. Michael Schott is asking, when will the new trading platform be on? Michael, as of today, third week December. Louis Latuca is saying, what about PPP? Uh, yes, Louis, what about PPP? Could you elaborate your question, please? Yeah, Louis is okay. I can see your elaborated question. You're saying, what about PayPal for invoice factoring space? Um, I'll be perfectly honest with you. I am not impressed with the invoice factoring space in the blockchain at the moment. Um, if you can guarantee me that the invoices there are insured by none other than Euler Hermes, and there is very little to zero risk for the DALP, and we can get 5 to 7% return on these short-term invoices, I'm very, very interested. I'm very happy to explore it. The last I heard is PayPal doesn't actually have a working platform at the moment, but please correct me on that. Maybe I may be wrong. If we're going to commit funds, we're only going to be committing funds to businesses that have proven themselves. It would be not that wise of us to take any risks with shareholder capital, unnecessary risks. Bo80 is asking, what do you think about getting a Twitch channel and streaming a few of your games or a betting function on Twitch so viewers can bet and watch? Your question is fantastic. And the answer is yes to all three. In fact, we have one of our internal staff who is heading up that portion of the streaming side of things, once bet versus live. We are hitting Twitch in a big way as well. Um, and also Mixer, by the way, for Microsoft. So we're taking care of that. Question for Otto. If you did list USDT, what exposure or losses would you face if it turned out that it is not backed, not dollar backed for dollar as promised? Would Spectre take a loss if USDT value collapse? That's a fantastic question. Otto, what are your thoughts on that?
It is indeed a good question. I think you would be able to answer that one a bit better and more thoroughly,
Yeah,
if you may.
So here's the thing. There is probably a 90% chance plus that we're not going to be dealing with any stable coin. Um, the only stable coin that interests us is the one Uphold has announced because of their merit in the space, their ability to manage VAR risk, balance sheet risk, book risk. Um, there's just far too much uncertainty with USDT. Even if they are legit, even if everything they've said is correct, there's a tail risk that it's not. And as you say, it's not back dollar for dollar. It's more a fractional reserve type of inflated system. There's no way we can associate our brand with that, right? So as things stand right now, there are one or two stable coins. I know Circle, which is Goldman Sachs backed, is working on what? No, sorry, that was Square, Jack Dorsey's Square. There are two stable coins right now that are of interest, and USDT is not one of them. So you're 100% right that our biggest concern is if we did go with USDT, if it fails or when it fails eventually, it's just not something we want to be associated with. See a question from Shin Y. Did Spectre Management create the Exo financial model for 2080 scenario or someone just tinkered? 2080 scenario doesn't sound like ours. We don't have those scenarios. We just have uh, a bearish, balanced, and bull. 2080 is not us. Good question from Chris. What steps are planned to increase Spectre's awareness in the non-English speaking markets in terms of advertising and maybe outreach to family offices, marketing, and so on? How many languages in total will the platforms offer? So right now it offers, I think, 6. We will expand to 14 by the end of 2019 across all our product ranges. We have actually started our investor relations activities officially. That's a separate part of the business. We have teamed up with an Eastern European company that helps reach out to family offices and high net worth to start the communication of the investment case for long-term shareholdership. So this has begun. This begun 2 weeks ago. We've actually hired someone for that full time. So we'll be, if you want to ask, if you want to send through information to IR at spectre.ai, feel free to do that. Dan Pierce saying, what would you estimate the ratio of normal to special dividend? This is very difficult, Dan, for us to estimate at this moment. Once Betverse is live and all the dApps are contributing, including Moonfolio and all of them, and Spectre is kind of scaled up. So this time next year, we'll be able to give a much better forecast for the longer term. Ivan Santana is asking, will people be able to connect to any trader on Spectre and replicate their trades for a fee? Yes. This is known as piggyback. We will be launching the piggyback feature at some point next year. It's not a big priority, but yes. So you will be able to copy one signal provider, but not 100 people will not be able to copy. It's just a one-on-one, and you will effectively be paying them a fee, and the DApp takes a cut. Great question from Nicholas. Nicholas is asking, are you the first KYC compliant crypto, or is it Electronium? Oh, no, it's definitely Electronium. They're the first KYC compliant crypto, I think, in the history of crypto. Okay, I see a question from Anthony Keeley. Hello, Kate. In an interview you did with Crypto Rich, you said that if someone offered to buy Spectre AI from you, you would sell the company. How would that affect SXDT and SXUT token holders? There would be a vote. The token holders, there would need to be an overwhelming, I think, 70% plus majority for it to go through, and then followed by that a minority squeeze out. Effectively, the way it would work is if they vote nay against it, a no, then it wouldn't go through. It's that simple. In terms of how that would affect SXDT, SXUT token holders, well, the SXDT token holders will be given the sale proceeds, pari passu their ownership in the buyout, effectively. In terms of SXUT token holders, bear in mind it depends what the new owner wishes to do with the tokens. So if the tokens are still part of the unlocks that they're unlocking, and by then, obviously, which will be 5, 6, 7 years from now, whenever, if it happens, you'll have all the dApps that are using the SUT. So if the SXUT is retired, obviously the future, the network value, the discounted network value, net present value of each SXUT has to be computed, and the SXUT token holders have to be compensated in cash for that. It could be a multiple of 10 times, 20 times, 30 times, whatever that is, it'll be agreed with the community. That makes sense. Please, if you have any follow-ups on that, please ask, because we do get this question a lot. Okay, Luis Latuca. Thanks for waiting. Yes, they're waiting for regs at the moment. Okay. Question from Emmanuel Girmay. How difficult is it for Spectre to move to another blockchain platform if Ethereum takes too long to scale? The thing is, we don't need to, Emmanuel. It's a good question. Our primary mandate is to generate return for shareholders in the form of some type of money, whether it's ETH, which they can convert to dollars, or pure dollars. At this moment, as long as we allow the platforms to grow with fiat and ETH and BTC and not force people to use ETH, then we can get the funds in different currencies, tokenize them, and pay you out in ETH, right? And you can convert them. So it, it is difficult for us to migrate completely. It would take us 6 months at least. It's just not worth doing at the moment. There's just no upside. Espen is asking, would you consider implementing the audited true USD instead of USDT? Could you confirm, Espen, who's auditing true USD? And if their balance sheet reserves are in the excess of $1 billion, because that's important. We need to see their balance sheet for that. Okay, Folcat is asking, what are the plans with Blue Sky Binary related to Spectre? A complete rebrand next year to Spectre Financial Academy. That's what's going to happen effectively. Christopher Ross is asking, has it been decided to pay out special rewards quarterly instead of annually? No, that's not been decided. Paul O'Donnell's asking, do you have projections for Spectre price in 2020? Paul, we can't regulatorily give projections, even if we had them. I'm sorry about that. Okay, this is the final question. Actually, no, there is no question. That was it. So, last call for questions, 5 minutes more. Please, if you have any questions for myself or Otto, go for it now.
And just to state that if you figure out any questions later on, then you can also send them to the email team@spectre.ai, or if there are any exchange-related questions, then you can send me an email to otto@spectre.ai directly as well.
Sure. Nicholas is asking, why do rewards have to be tokenized? So, if, for example, we have a payment processor called Skrill that has no clue of what blockchain is, right? Or let's say PayPal, whatever, or direct bank wire deposits, right? Barclays Bank, or whichever bank it is, where we can accept deposits for Betverse, for example. There is no way for them to automatically convert that to Ethereum and send it to our smart contract, which we can then send to you, beam to you on a weekly Devo, right? There has to be a manual intervention by us to do that. That infrastructure exists in concept, but it doesn't, because banks don't even know what cryptocurrency exchanges really are at the moment, right? I mean, generally speaking. So that's the reason we need to tokenize any fiat intakes. Does that make sense? Good question. Steve Daly is asking, will Spectre Financial Academy be linked to the DALP in any way? We have considered it. Spectre Financial Academy today makes around $10,000 a month. If we brought that over to the DALP, it would be a nice little boost to weekly devos. We can certainly consider it next year. Anything to feed the DALP is good. We want to really make it big and fat and like this really mean creature. So very excited about that. Good question from Damjan. Where do you see Spectre in 20 years? What are the long-term plans? So again, as you know, we're a very risk-averse team. We don't like to talk in expletives. We don't like to talk in hyperbole. But in 20 years, if things go to plan, I mean, this is our own internal vision and ambition, not investment advice. We want Betverse. And by the way, one thing I didn't mention, spectre.ai, if regulations allow it, will be consolidated under Betverse. So it's just one of the trading apps, trading gaming apps there. If things go to plan, we in 20 years from now, we should be a company generating north of $1 billion in revenues a year. Remember, 20 years is a long time. That's enormous time, right? I mean, it'll be what 20. It'll be almost 2040 then. I'll be close to 60. Yeah, that's what we're talking about here. So my entire career would have been dedicated to this, and all of our very loyal lieutenants and partners, including Otto. We have every intention of seeing this through. We are very cogent, very coherently. Sorry, wrong word. We're very cognizant of net present value of money. So if an offer does come, if we are successful, touch wood, in hitting our roadmap targets early in the next 5 years, we would of course entertain offers. Certainly, if the community backed them. But 20 years from now, if we're still operating, we want to be the next iTunes, the next Apple. We want to have that dominion. I think Apple's iTunes store makes $10 billion a year in revenues. Why can't we get to 1/10 of that? Especially considering the tech we're bringing out, especially considering how unique our idea is. We're positioning ourselves in a market that in 20 years could be over $1 trillion a year, gaming. Um, and we would like to be one of the big players. Now, we're not going to say we're going to dominate the world, right? Like a bunch of morons. But 20 years, I think it's very realistic that that's the figure we want to get to. Um, I hope that answers the question. In terms of product rollout, of course, by then, it's difficult to say where we will be in 5 years, but 20 years, hopefully, we would have our own smaller version of EA in-house, Electronic Arts, churning out. Hopefully, the DALP would have grown to hundreds of millions in size, if not bigger, backing a range of industries, not just gaming. Um, and with it, of course, whatever coin that exists then, I mean, if it's SXDT still, if Ethereum is scaled up, or if we have migrated to chains and all you token holders receive a pari passu allocation, it will be such an awesomely yielding coin, right? A currency which doesn't increase in supply. That's the most important thing. And a currency which has increasing yield or increasing dollar rewards. And so I would say that's our vision, right? The DALP should be this very large audited entity denominated in multiple assets, um, deeply diversified, backing, providing liquidity and a regulatory umbrella to a range of multi-sector dApps. And yeah, the type of figures I mentioned are entirely possible on that time frame. Okay. Rav is asking if we have any specific marketing plan for coffee stands, specifically in Canary Wharf. Are we hiring any pretty girls to dance for coffee stands? There is no plan for that right now. If you want us to do that, we can have a vote. We'd be happy to consider that. It's not how we normally market, but please send us your suggestions. Good question from Christopher Ross. Feedback, actually. Thanks for being such a shit team with a shit token. I wish all my other tokens were as shitty as yours. Thank you, Chris. We really appreciate that. Tree Wiani is asking, alt winter, how long will this last? Okay. Tree, this is a very, very in-depth question, so I'm probably not going to answer this now. But I'm holding a webinar with Crypto Riche, I think, in 2 weeks to give an update. So please join that, and I'll be very happy to discuss. Thanks, Atlat. Milan is asking, what is the success rate who trade SXUT? You can't trade SXUT, Milan, on the platform. Manuel is asking, is there any way to withdraw all the rewards collectively instead of withdrawing little amount every week so it costs less fees? Otto?
Yes, there is a withdraw all option available in the rewards portal. This will allow you to withdraw all of them at once. However, the calculation of this certain option, it might be a bit confusing because it's not as simple as you think, right? Because we need to check all the balances for all the reward distributions, your address, etc., in order to see how much rewards you will get. So withdrawing them all at once will certainly reduce the cost a bit, but not as much as you might think, okay? But there is an option available, just as a brief answer.
Okay. Steve is asking, when is the Q3 webinar? Q3 webinar is January 15th, roughly speaking. Damjan, thank you for the question. It took me by surprise. We internally always talk about 10 to 20 years, right? We have long-term plans for this project, but to hear from a token holder that it's very interesting. We of course love to discuss that. Thank you, Matt, for the feedback. I see a question from the celebrity Bijou Shitoka Kishan. Hello, Bijou. He's asking, how do I ask a question, please? Okay, so I think you already asked a question in asking that question. Did I get your question correct, Bijou?
You can expect a bell dance in a moment from him.
Yes. Okay. So this is the final call for questions, everybody. Get them in now because we are going to be calling it quits in a minute. I see a question from Kola Wole. Is the team considering using SXUT for trading, shorting or longing on the Spectre platform? 100% not. So wait, sorry, if I understand, are you asking if we are going to ourselves be shorting and going long the SXUT for proprietary trading on our own exchange, or are you asking if we are going to? Sorry, Otto, go ahead.
I think he means that if we're going to add like SXUT/USD pair onto our Spectre trading platform for them to make speculative trades. I think
Oh,
that's what he
absolutely.
meant.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. In order for that to happen, we need to aggregate liquidity first because it needs to become well liquid, and then we price it on spectre.ai. So you'll be able to go long and short. Pretty cool, right? Okay, I see a question from Bart van Mulem. Thank you for your time. Both of you keep up good work. Love this project. Thank you. Thank you, Bart. We love being a shitty team. Okay, good. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, everybody. I think we will call it a wraps. They will record this and we will put this up on the YouTube channel and also blast it. And we'll see you all soon. Take care.
Yeah. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.